It's the Here to Record. It's the Here to Record. It's the Here to Record live show.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another live stream here on the YouTube channel. Nice to have you here today, watching along from wherever you are watching along from. Say hello in the chat if you're watching live. If you're not, after the fact, then you can always say hello as well and let us know where you're tuning in from. I always like to see where in the world people are watching from. It's always fun. I'll just jump right into the show though, because we have a special guest today with us who's going to talk about fun new development work. Adam, how you doing? Are you there?
I am here. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good, good. I'm excited to dig into, new Adam work, but before we get there, we finally got to meet each other a few months ago. I've forgotten now how long ago it was.
It seems like a long time ago. I've been traveling for the past several weeks, but we did meet in NAB in Las Vegas at the beginning of, what was it? April? Sometime in April? I don't really remember.
You think
sometime in April.
It's a complete blur now. Nobody knows when anybody met each other. But it was nice. Actually, I don't know if it was because you were wearing like a red jacket, but I just saw you. We met each other so many times on the show floor, which is so strange. I only met everybody else like one time maximum. Yeah. It was a pleasure. In fact, I had a little. I was going to show, where did I haven't set up all my buttons here, so I'm reaching behind me to switch between my buttons. But I have this article that you posted, your NAB show 2025 trip recap. And many things in this I was impressed by. Number one is how many photos you took with every single person you met, which I thought was a real nice touch. And as you can see here from the photos, Adam wearing his, I want to say now, trademark red top. But we had the chance to meet in a nice big meetup with all the friendly folks you can see here. So that was really nice. So really nice write up.
Yeah, it was really good to meet with all the people that, I've developed relationships in the community for the past 4 years. To meet them face to face was really cool.
Yeah, really nice. And some of them are probably here watching along live today. Michael here saying hello from Portland, and Rose saying hello from Lisbon, Portugal as well. But I think without further chit chat, lead up, Adam, you have a brand new project or product that you released a few weeks ago now, right? RouteEffect.
I do, yeah. So I was demoing it at NAB. So it's a new app kind of in the family of the MixEffect line of products called RouteEffect. And essentially it's what MixEffect does for ATEMs, RouteEffect does for Blackmagic VideoHub video routers.
It's feels like about time. It's one of those applications on the iPad. I played with the VideoHub application from Blackmagic that they've released for the iPad years and years ago, and they have a desktop version as well that you can use. But again, a project that I was like, oh, someday I would love to just have a crack at this, and even just allow people to add their own icons or anything more than what was available. So is there many other solutions out there up until this point, or what made you kind of say like, okay, the next evolution of apps that I'm going to make, or the next app that I want to tackle is the router style?
Yeah, so if you go back to the history of MixEffect, it's basically if I have a product from Blackmagic, I will want to type of control it. So with MixEffect, it started with I had the ATEM Mini Pro, which I still have on my desk right here, and nice. I wanted the downstream keyer button. And there's no downstream keyer button on that ATEM Mini Pro. So MixEffect was born because I wanted a software way to control it on my iPhone and my iPad. So the same thing with the Video Hub. I got it last year. I have a 20 by 20, and it works fine. I kind of configured it from the very beginning, got all the cables all set up, and I didn't touch it. And every once in a while, I go into the Blackmagic, the Video Hub control application to kind of like tweak some things. The iPad app, I don't think it actually even works for me on the iPad. So that was a no-go. And there is an app on the App Store that controls video hubs, but the interface I wasn't that much of a fan of, and I wanted to basically bring kind of the MixEffect style and interface to video hubs. And what's also great about the VideoHub protocol is that all modern ATEM switchers are also VideoHubs. So that's another reason why I wanted to kind of create a controller for it. Is because there's a universe of people that have the hardcore VideoHub devices, but there's also a universe that has the ATEM switchers, and I think both those kind of communities can benefit from RouteEffect.
I think so too. In fact, while you were chatting there, I was trying to download the Blackmagic one on my iPad. I have it here somewhere, but it took me a while to even figure out what it was actually called. But it's not connected to any video hubs right now because I just turned it on. But yeah, the interface instantly. It's not even taking up all this screen here. The interface instantly made me think of like it's time for a refresh on this ecosystem. So that's the kind of the background where you came from, right?
Right. And you know that app that you're showing hasn't been updated in several years. So you have to actually configure it. You have to go to iPadOS settings, go to apps, and then scroll down to VideoHub, and you can only enter one VideoHub IP address at a time. And that's the same thing in the desktop application. You can only control one at a time. So switching between VideoHubs is kind of a laborious process. You know, if you have something like Companion, and I think there's some kind of web-based tools, you can do more. But again, my whole kind of claim to fame is that MixEffect on the Mac, iPad, and iOS, iPhones to control these devices. So
cool. Well, I think since you have it all set up on your end, I actually downloaded the app here, but so I'll play with it a bit later. But since you have things all nicely set up on your end, why don't you give us a little, tour of what it is and how it works?
Sure. So I'm going to switch over to this interface here. So just to give the viewers an idea of what's happening, we have RouteEffect running here, and this little window here is my MixEffect console. So we'll just keep that running. You can ignore that for right now. It allows MixEffect to run in the background. Oh, nice. And you can see on the, I'm going to point down like this. Down below here, pretend that's like your ATEM that's showing a super source of, say, 4 Zoom participants. So these are kind of like AI-generated videos that I created using ChatGPT, and they're just looping. So, but pretend it's like a real Zoom meeting with 4 people. So we take a look at RouteEffect, and I'm going to kind of go over a high-level overview of the app first. So here you see the video routers that I have in my house. So I have an ATEM Constellation 2ME, ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, and ATEM Mini Pro. And like I said before, all ATEMs are video hubs. I also have my Blackmagic VideoHub 20x20 here. So when you connect to it, I'll actually disconnect to it, and I'll connect to it right now. We basically see an interface right here. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And there's several ways you can visualize your sources, which are the inputs, and destinations, which are the outputs. There's a kind of a traditional button approach here. So similar to the interface you would see on the front panel of a video hub, except that I can have the ability to show kind of icons and short labels. There is a split view, which gives you kind of like a bigger view of these things. You can add colors. Again, you have your icons, your input labels, and the input numbers and output numbers. There's a list view if you prefer this way, and you can just change your sources by just selecting via list. There's a wheel picker, which is not dissimilar to the kind of using that jog wheel on the video hubs.
Right.
There's even a cross-point switcher, which shows every single possible combination of inputs and outputs. So you can just tap these things to change them. And then we have a concept of virtual outputs, which I guess we can talk about later, but it's the idea that you can combine multiple outputs and then you can assign a source to those outputs. So you don't have to, this is not something that Blackmagic's software gives you in the desktop or iOS versions, but it's something that I layered on top of in RouteEffect. So this is really good if you have like 5 outputs, which are all monitors, like you say you're doing a convention, an event, and you have 5 monitors in the hallways. You can just say, you can just use this source and just assign one of these sources to all those outputs right here. Like
that. Okay, yeah. So it's sort of like a quick way to make many changes at the same time that you've sort of pre-configured in advance.
That's right. So there's other ways to automate in RouteEffect and kind of jumping ahead, but we have the concept of presets. So think of these as macros on an ATEM. And for instance, so I have this default video hub 20 by 20, which is what you see in the videos below. But if I were to click on this cameras button, it would reassign the outputs of the video hub as they're sending to the ATEM. Because right now I'm streaming through the ATEM, but the video hub is powering some of the inputs into the ATEM. So I switched to 4 different cameras. So I have a camera here, and I have a camera behind me, and I have the camera looking at my rack. And I have the raw output from the camera, not using the Ultimatte that I'm using to do the green screen. So pretend, again, you're doing a Zoom video, a session, and you have these 4 people. But let's say you have another 4 people kind of waiting in the wings. You would like tap this, and it would do a cut to reconfigure the inputs of the ATEM with the new outputs from the video hub. So this is this is basically what people use video hubs for, is they give more inputs to their ATEM switchers or their other devices.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, like, knowing that your next section's starting soon and you have those 4 inputs that you want to queue up, you could build the whole show out basically for the whole day and then just fire those off when the time comes. That's quite nice. I like that. Going back to all those other views there.
Exactly.
Which one would you say is most similar to the one that Blackmagic uses on their sort of native app? So something, I'm just thinking about people who are going to come to this app from a previous version. They probably want something that feels a bit similar before they step into some of these other configurations. Which one would you say is most similar?
It will probably look like the split view. So in fact, I'm going to create a new router. So I'm going to add a video router. I'm just going to choose the same one that we have. So it's going to create a brand new configuration. I'll just call this like fresh 20 by 20. And I'll add it here. And you see basically the split view just has numbers, or the button view. And the split view looks like this, which is very similar to what the Blackmagic Video Hub application looks like right now.
Right.
Yeah. So with the Blackmagic one, you could add graphics to it. There are basically a number of stock graphics. And what I allow the user to do is actually add Apple's SF symbols. So if you take a look at here, these are all symbols that Apple provides, and you just need to know the kind of like the code. And then you can create like little iPads, Macs, Apple TVs, Xboxes, things like that. In the future, I'd like to allow the user to kind of add their own graphics, but that was not something that I was able to get done in the 1.0 initial release.
Yeah, I mean, we can all forgive you for not getting everything done, even though you've got a whole lot of stuff done. That's great.
Yeah.
So they have a huge library of SF symbols. So effectively, from looking at what you've done, you can get yourself pretty far already, even further than what you could in the native Blackmagic app, right?
Yeah. So I'll even show you. So you go do an edit on one of the sources or destinations, and you click icon, choose, and you can basically type to filter. So if I typed in something like iPad, you get a whole set of types of iPads that you can choose from, or like iPhone, like this, or you can do like clock, maybe not clock, house, home. So there's really like thousands of symbols. Obviously, they don't have things like an Ursa Cine camera or a Pixis camera. But that's something, again, I would like to add in the future, because I think people who use video hubs, they're connecting to actual physical devices, obviously. So they want the source or the destination to look like what they're connecting it to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. That's exactly my basically shortcomings for the app previously. Was not yours. The sort of original one is, I know that I want to connect a device that looks a certain way, and I'd love to be a bit more specific about how that looks, because in the heat of the moment, when you're patching a route, it may actually be something important that you're doing, like to air accidentally. So you want to be very confident about what you're about to take before you press that button. So I think icons, colors, specific labels are all as important as each other to make it very clear what you're going to do. Exactly.
And even when you're switching things. So let me show you a little thing here. So let's go to let me see if I can. Let's modify this ATEM Mini Extreme, since it's not connected to anything right now.
Lovely.
I don't want to switch outputs and destinations and have the stream all mess up and stuff like that. So here's my ATEM mini extreme, which is on my desk over to my right. And I can change, there's 2 HDMI outputs, and then there's the webcam output, which is through the USB, and then program and preview. So for the ATEM, this is kind of like what you have access to. These are what they call the outputs of the ATEM. So if I were to say program, and I could change it like this, and if you look on the ATEM, it's changing the buttons. But you can also activate what they call a take mode, which if you do this, it will it's almost like preview.
Right.
But you have to click it twice in order for it to take take effect. So this is a way for you to prevent accidental routes while you use it. In fact, I even added use double tap just to even give people even more control. So you have to double click or double tap to actually make it do the thing. And in the other views, you have, if we take a look at the preview here, you have, say I change this to camera 5, you have this little button that appears for when take mode is enabled. So you actually have to click the blue check mark to make it go into effect, or if you don't want that, you can just click the X button.
Oh, nice.
And the same thing is in the wheel and the cross point. The cross point, you have to click, and actually I have double click turned on, so I'll turn that off. So you click, and then it goes into this brown color, and then you click it again, and then it'll actually take.
Oh,
so
nice.
Depending on how you want to use RouteEffect, you can make it very easy to switch outputs, or you can make it more involved.
Good. And is that the whole press to preview sort of and press again to take, is that a layer you've added on top yourself, or is that built into the Video Hub sort of ecosystem already? I think it is, right? The sort of two-step process.
There is a concept of the take. I think older Video Hubs handled it differently. In the Video Hub software control, you have to check this check marks, which is use take, and then it'll activate the take mode.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And I've cheekily added myself into your multiview layout here because I felt left out.
No, it looks good.
And it was a bit weird to just have this voice that was chiming in every once in a while, I thought.
Yeah. We need to add the white border to make it
I
more
know,
consistent.
I was looking into it there, and I just thought, screw it. Next time I'll add the white border, I promise. Cool. That's great. So when it comes to all of these different layouts that or sort of views, let's say, that you've added, the button, split, list, wheel, did you think that you were going to be adding so many on the way in? Is it sort of expanded as you've showed it to people, or how much did you have in mind, and how much has come true, and how much have you gone beyond that already?
When I first started out, I wanted to replicate what you saw in the Video Hub app itself. So the split view definitely was something that was inspired by that. Right. The button view was certainly something that you see on the front panel of all Video Hubs, or kind of like ATEM switchers that are rack mounted. So I wanted to kind of replicate that. List view is something that is in the Video Hub control application as well, but it's a common thing. People like to see lists of things, so I added lists. The wheel picker was more of a fun thing, but it's actually, I do find it somewhat useful. One good thing is that you can actually filter. So if we go back to my Blackmagic VideoHub here, I can filter and say, you can filter between inputs and outputs. So I can say let's see, I can say this is not bad because they're all called output. But if I filter input to deck link, you see all the deck link things are filtered here. And if you go to all the different views, it's filtered accordingly. So if I go to list view, if I click on the source, I only see those sources. If I go to wheel, I see only those sources. If I want to change the output, right now all the outputs are the same except for these last two. So I can type in aux, and then I'll filter that.
Yeah. So it's
and I think it's even
output
in the cross point too.
Wow, that's cool.
Right.
That's really smart.
Right. So this is actually maybe not so useful if you have a small ATEM or even a 20 by 20 video hub. But if you have something like the video hub 120 by 120 or an 80 by 80, you don't want to see all those outputs and inputs. You want to be able to filter them.
Correct. And in theory, is there a limit to how many connections you can have to these video hubs, or is it using a different protocol, right, than sort of the ATEM's 5 limity weird thing?
NAB, I asked them that question, and I do think I've read reports where if you have a lot of devices connected to the Video Hub using the Video Hub protocol, wonky things could happen.
Okay.
I personally haven't seen that right now because it's just me usually. So it's like maybe a couple of RouteEffect connections into my Video Hub. But you can always just disconnect and reconnect, and it should reestablish the connection and reload everything. I find the Video Hub protocol connection to be much more resilient than the ATEM protocol. It makes
Good
it
to know.
So yeah.
And here's a question for you: Is it happening both ways? Then is it listening for updates on the Video Hub as well?
Certainly. So the way the protocol works is that when you connect, it dumps kind of like all its status information. Then anytime there's a change, it sends that information to all connected clients. So the connected client needs to take that and then update its interface.
Okay, yeah. So my I guess theory would be that if you had lots of clients connected, the slowdown comes because it is trying to push those updates out to all of the connected clients. I'd imagine that would make more sense than having too many coming in.
Maybe. I mean, it's just text, so
yeah,
the amount of data that's being sent is quite small.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that may not be an issue to worry about. But that's what my point being was. You could have multiple iPads or connections in multiple places within your team, and they could filter for the inputs and outputs that they wanted, and therefore multi connections could all just take sort of separate parts of the same router and split it up, so to speak. That'd be quite neat.
Certainly, that's definitely a one use case. I think access control was something that I heard was something maybe would be useful to add to the app, although that adds a lot of complexity. So the use cases like that I heard when talking to some of the video router manufacturers is that, I want to give my live producer only access to like these buttons or these outputs and these sources, and I don't want them to touch anything else. And so they can play around with it all they want, but for me, I want total control. So building a layer like that in is complicated. So maybe something to add in the future.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's no end to good ideas for the future. The question then for you: so you have multiple routers. You mentioned multiple router support, which is great. If you jump between them there, is it pretty instantaneous? Like, is the iPad in this case able to stay connected as long as the app is connected?
Oh yes. So as you can see in the interface here, there's all these green icons. So unlike MixEffect, which is only able to connect to one ATEM at a time in a single window, RouteEffect in a single window can connect to multiple Video Hub devices at a time. So I'm actually connected to my Mini Extreme, the Video Hub. This is the same one. I can connect to my Mini Pro. You can see here I'm connected to my ATEM Mini Pro right here, and I can even connect to my Constellation. So I'm connected to all these devices at once. You can see in this interface here, these gray ones are hidden. So I can actually say show hidden and hide them. So you can actually hide inputs or outputs in your Video Hub or your ATEM switcher. So if you don't use things like the media player one key, you don't need to see it. You can just hide it. And so that's why I hid it right here, or black.
But how does it know that they are to be hidden? Why are they grayed out?
I configured it to be hidden. So I can right click on here and I can say edit, and then I can say hide input, or I can show this input, and now this input is 19 is visible now.
Okay, so you effectively have the access control there without any guardrails if the person knows how to hop in and change those things, no?
I assume so, yes. So I guess you could create a special video router kind of entry for a producer and just hide those things. But there's nothing preventing the user from just saying show hidden.
Yeah,
they would see everything.
Ooh, what's this button do? Shiny.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. That's nice. And if you close the app, do you have to keep it running in background mode in order to be smart? I know that's really like an iOS-y, iPad OS challenge more than anything, right?
Yeah, so just like in MixEffect, I have it running in the background right here.
Right.
I have this concept of kind of a run in background. So if I click this button, it would basically close the mix effect one because it'll open up a new picture in picture.
Yeah.
So we can do that real quick. And now we have RouteEffect running in the background. So I could actually go here and then do stuff, and RouteEffect is still running. Now, iPadOS will still maybe like terminate the app after a while. So it's not going to run forever. It's certainly not going to run if you turn off the device.
No.
But in a pinch, it will stay connected to your video hub. And you see, I'm still connected to it right now. So that's a way where you can kind of run it and then do some stuff and then come back to it, and it will still work. So
Yeah.
I'm going to actually turn on mix effect so I can have that run in the background while I'm working on RouteEffect.
Smart. You can redo what you just had to undo there for the sake of the demo. That's really cool, and it connects really fast to the Video Hub anyway, so it's nothing to worry about whenever you launch it again.
So you can see here I went to mix effect, I turned on its run in background, and now it disconnected because that's just again what iPadOS does. So I'll just reconnect to them, and you can see it's very fast, and I'm already connected to this to these devices.
If I'm not mistaken, then if you click on the name, it brings up the sort of the view. But if you click on that little icon, are you connecting with that, or is that a button there?
Yeah, it's just a way to quickly connect or disconnect.
Perfect.
So now and then I connect, and then I can go in here. Here, it's just a little quick one. You can turn off that button in the settings here. So you can,
great.
Like right here.
That's cool. The next thing I want to talk about, actually, I'm going to cut to my own camera now because I have my iPad set up on the table here, and I wanted to try this out this weekend because I knew we were going to have this show, right? And I realized though I was at home without access to anything. And I really love this little simulators option you have here. One thing I noticed today, though, is I was doing on my iPhone the other day, and I downloaded the app again on the iPad today, and it automatically added the same Video Hub 10x10 12G simulator that I added the other day. Am I losing it, or is that syncing between devices?
As long as you install RouteEffect on this multiple devices using the same Apple ID, it's going to share that data. So
Very
you'll
nice.
see all your video routers and your simulators. Okay. What's interesting though is that you could run the simulator on the iPad and then access it from the phone by entering that IP address that you see down there. So
that's nice.
So you would be modifying the simulator that's running on the iPad.
Okay, that's really cool. So this simulator is running at this IP address in this network right now, and I can jump in there.
That's correct.
That's really cool. And so since it is using their protocol, but it is a simulator, you're really just like setting up this sort of config state here and then serving that as though it's a real router. And this is the basis. No, sorry, this is the current state. Let me see. But the original state is sort of the basis of what I have running on my network here. Is that right?
Exactly. So the great thing about the simulator is that you can simulate any video hub or any ATEM switcher as long as you kind of have its configuration. So what's great about RouteEffect is that you can take your video hubs and routers with you, make changes, and then copy its configuration back to, say, the real video hub device that you have at your office or at home. What's really good is that, let's say you're thinking about buying a video hub, you have a 20x20, you're thinking about upgrading to a 40x40, but you're obviously not going to spend thousands of dollars just to buy one to test one out. You can create a simulated 40x40 and configure it exactly how your 20x20 is, and then, obviously make more changes now that you have an additional 20 inputs and outputs. So it's really a great way to test Blackmagic design video hubs before you buy, and you can emulate ones up from the new Video Hub Mini 4x2 all the way up to the Video Hub 120x120.
That's really cool. Yeah, the 4x2 seems like quite a big screen for such a small little router, but if you have it, you have it.
Right. I think they obviously made the device so they know the use case for it.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
It's for
Someone has an idea for it. So let's talk through these virtual outputs here, and you can show a demo later if you have, or you kind of already did that, I suppose, but I just wanted to talk through that again on the iPad here so that I'm 100% clear how that would work. So let's say I have a venue and I have, 5 screens in the venue, and I know they all need to change at the same time. That's my sort of working use case here. I would effectively make my own virtual output, right? All screens.
That's correct. Yeah, all screens, and then you would select which outputs are part of this virtual output.
Right.
And then you would tap add.
Adding that. So I have my all
And
screens.
now you can click choose and choose all the input sources that you want to assign to those screens instantly. So if you were to choose one, they would actually set it to input ones. And you can actually see it in the cross-point switcher. So if we go back to the virtual outputs.
Yeah, I want to see what it was before I changed it.
Right.
I'll choose to send input 10 to all of those. And
then since you have take mode turned on, and then it's done. So go back to the cross-point switcher and you'll see that they're all been assigned.
Boop. That's really cool. So I could set that all up to be like really handy in advance. All screens, I probably want to be more specific. No, actually that makes sense because I'm choosing the input here. I think sometimes whenever you don't have things labeled, like I don't in the emulator here, I'm looking at the screen at an angle, so it's hard to press exactly where I need to press. If you don't have things labeled the way they should be labeled, then it becomes a bit generic. But yeah, if input 10 was my PowerPoint presentation with all the who's coming up next in the venue, then it would make sense to do that. That's quite cool.
Right. So this is the virtual outputs when you're changing the sources. It's used for in a dynamic environment. If you have a preset kind of route that you want to do, you probably want to create a preset macro for that. That way you can just tap preset, all screens go to the PowerPoint presentation, boom, you're done. You don't have to go through the picker. But I offer, obviously both ways, the dynamic way, which is you see through the button, split, list, wheel, crosspoint virtual outputs, and then presets to let you do it in an automated fashion.
Got it. That's cool. Yeah, the wheel is interesting. I kind of enjoyed that as an idea, the wheel. It probably feels like the most, if I want to do something fast, this feels like the most stressful way to do it. But then sometimes, whenever you forget how routers work, which I often do, this sort of top-bottom view can be a little bit deceiving at first because you kind of want to.
It can be because you don't know what you're choosing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's actually a way to flip those. So if you go to that little ellipsis menu in the upper right corner, you can see this option to say show sources first. So if you take that, turn that off, that will actually put destination on top. So the idea is that you would choose your destination first and then choose your source.
Exactly. This to me, this is exactly what I need, this setting, because this makes way more sense to me.
Yeah, you actually locked it. So there's actually an invisible button in the upper right corner to lock an output destination. So when you lock an output destination, you can't change its source.
Got it. I saw the lock, but I was wondering how I did it.
Yeah. There's also a column view. So if you actually go back to that ellipsis menu, you can say use column layout, and then you can use your finger to make the buttons smaller. And this is actually good on a larger iPad, obviously, where you can actually see more things at once.
Exactly. I need to get a bigger one. No, but this is great. So yeah, so all the views, this is like a global menu then. So all of these views are affected by what I'm choosing up here. Nice.
That's correct. Some views don't have, say, like additional labels and information, so it doesn't really matter what those menu options do, but some take an effect in either the button or the split view.
Nice. Yeah, this is much better for me. Like this, the logic makes sense, left to right. What do I want to send to, and what do I want to send there? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. The ATEM, sorry, not the ATEM, the Blackmagic VideoHub control puts all the destinations on the bottom. And so again, to make things somewhat easy for someone who's familiar with that app, I kind of mimic that. Although I agree, I think I think in destination and then source rather than source and destination.
Exactly. No, smart. Yeah. So I just wanted to show that off. Now, what? Tell me about this multi-view. What's going on here?
Okay, so this multi-view, you can hide it by tapping that button in the upper right corner if you don't like it, but it's just a quick way to see what outputs are live right now, or what inputs are live right now on your outputs. If you scroll down, there's actually a button called Multiview. You see that it's one of the purple buttons. So this actually shows you like a full screen view. So if you had a 120 by 120, and I can show this later in the demo, you would see all 120 outputs and their sources. And you could, you see that little button in the upper right, you can actually set that as a separate window. So if you have an iPad that's running with the external monitor, you can throw that up onto the external monitor, or if you have a Mac, you can pop up that Mac. So you can actually see the multi-view of your video hubs like in a separate window, which is really good. It would be great if it was live video. Unfortunately, that's not possible.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But at least to get a high level overview of all kind of the sources and where they're being output to, I think would be useful, especially if you've color coded and added icons to all those sources.
Yeah, it would look so much nicer. In fact, you said you had a better demo of one of the bigger ones there, so feel free to show us that.
Sure. So let's go again to my constellation. Actually, let's go to the video hub.
So much nicer when it has all the colors. Instantly, I like your screen.
Yeah. So I'm going to expand this. So you can see this is the multi-view in mine. And I can actually, in the multi-view view, I can actually control click and then change the outputs also. This is another way you can change stuff. So for instance, the deck link one is currently going to output 7. So I'm going to change this to Xbox. See if this works. I take, and then now it's the camera behind me, right? So I can switch it back to deck link 1. And there we go, like that. But it's, again, high level overview of where all your outputs and what sources are being assigned to them.
Here's a question for you. Since the protocol, the Blackmagic Video Hub protocol, it's not going to have all these things like icons and colors necessarily in there. It'll have the name. Like where's the line between the data that you're holding? If I was to grab a new iPad, not with the same iCloud, and I connected it to my Video Hub, what does it know and what does it not necessarily know?
Yeah, so it'll get a label, and that's pretty much it. So obviously it will know the route. So output, 1 is going to input number 12.
Okay.
In this case of this output 1 is input, it says 13, but it's really input 12 on the constellation. And it'll have a label. It won't have a short label. It'll just have like a long label.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it. And so what RouteEffect does is it layers on top of these devices additional metadata. So for instance, if I go back to like input labels, you'll see if I kind of click on it, you'll see the label. This is what the Video Hub gives me. The ID, which is like the number, the internal ID, and then what output it's assigned to, and then that's basically it. So I add things like the short label, the icon. You can actually even add like a little badge icon, and then the color, and you can see a representation of what that looks like down here.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully with your app, you can encourage them to expand upon the protocol a little bit. That even like short label would be, why not?
That will certainly be good. And what's good about this is that you mentioned, how do you copy that information over to like your real one? So you can actually do all your changes either on the real Video Hub or simulated one, and you can say copy port metadata to the clipboard, and then you can import it by just pasting it in. So for instance, I actually have a simulated 20 by 20. So right before this call, I noticed that my Blackmagic didn't have all the things on it. So if you take a look like ATEM1, ATEM2, they were just called like output 1, output 2. But I had actually made all the changes. Actually, let's take a look at it again. Let's go start this simulator. Actually, you see constellation
Right.
like this. So we'll actually show you how this works. So I'm going to go to launch the client, and I'm going to say copy port metadata to clipboard. So it's copied. Now I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to say import port metadata. I'm just going to paste this data in, and you can see it's just this JSON file that has all this additional metadata. I'm going to say import and import succeeded, and then let's just see if it updates itself. So for some reason, it didn't update all the way.
Well, the demo was going
some
so
of the things,
well
so-
that something had to go wrong.
I know, but we'll see it on this fresh one. So this will definitely work. So you see, it's all the blank. So I'm just going to import this, and let's watch what happens here.
Yeah, instantly.
Okay, there it got imported. So for some reason, this one didn't import the constellation names. Actually, no, it did.
Oh, it
So
did,
maybe
it
it took a while for the view to update.
Perfect.
So that's a bug that I'll have to fix. So now you can see that the names are all there that I've added from my simulated one right over here.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're kind of holding your own sort of state, but it still is able to, if I change the actual label on the actual video hub, it will still reflect that by pulling back in that label in RouteEffect.
In RouteEffect for the long label, yes.
Exactly. Cool. Yeah. That's great. Any other? I feel like wow, we've already been chatting for 40 minutes. Any other features that we missed over there, or do you think we covered it nicely?
Well, I do want to show the simulator for something like a 120 by 120. So most people are not going to be able to spend $14,000 for this giant rack mounted video hub 120 by 120.
Big spot for it right here.
But what if you wanted? Yeah, exactly. I don't think my little 9RU rack, I don't think can fit this.
No.
But what if you wanted to play with one? What if you wanted to imagine you had a video hub 120 120? You can go ahead and start a simulator. In fact, it's so easy to create a simulator. You just go up to the plus menu, say new simulator, and actually have sample video hubs for all these devices. So you can actually say, I want to create a 120 by 120. Since I've already created one, I'm just say start the simulator, and I'm going to launch the client. And now if we go to buttons, we see, wow, there is your 120 by 120 Blackmagic video hub. And then you can make the buttons bigger or smaller if you want to fit everything all in one screen. You said you like the column layout. You can do it like this. If we take a look at split view, you can see all your outputs and all your sources. And again, you can use the filter to kind of say, I want to see all my monitors, right? You can say mon, and then for the inputs, you can say, let's say, show me all the ATEMs,
sure,
right? Like that. So you don't have to see all 120 by 120. You can see that. And then list, again, you can have access to all your things. The wheel is much more compact, but you can have access to all your destinations.
Quite the wheel, huh?
Yeah. Now the crosspoint switcher, this will take a little while to load. Basically, it's creating 120 by 120, so that's 14,400 possible combinations. So it's going to create that many radio buttons, and it does take a little while to load. But afterwards, you can see just the breadth and depth of possibilities that you get when you have a video hub like this.
That is quite the set of radials.
Yeah, and there are customers that use this device. I mean, they must be making them to sell them to people.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I personally don't have a use for them, but again, if you ever wanted to have a video hub 120 120, but don't have enough money to spend to buy one, you can at least simulate one using RouteEffect.
Now, I have a question, but one last question from me that you just showed there, but I couldn't do in mine yet. If you go back into one of your simulators and look at the list view, and you change the button size, but I think you're using the keyboard on your iPad. Can you do that on the touchscreen?
I did it on the touchscreen. So in the button view here, so if I go here, I'm actually just using the pinch to zoom gesture. So that's making it bigger.
There you go. I couldn't see what you were doing. That's great. Okay, good to know.
So I probably should add like command key equivalents to like command plus, command minus, and make them bigger and smaller.
Okay, I can show it on my iPad here. There you go. Cool.
Sure.
That's great. And you can do that in here too. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So this is actually a feature that some users want in MixEffect, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. But now I do. So maybe that will be coming in a future version of that app. There's no guarantee when, but it's something I do plan to do.
I have a question from our lovely audience. Jonas, who's often here and helping out with the show, but he's just watching along today, and he asked the question: does RouteEffect have tags like the newer VideoHubs have? So, for example, you can say cams, and then you can say 1, and it goes to cam 1, etc.
So the tags is using the search capability right now. I'm actually kind of confused by how those tags work on the VideoHub, like the device itself. You know, you have to like add them in the VideoHub thing, and then you can push buttons on the front to like filter stuff. I find the interface somewhat confusing personally. So yes, there is, but it's through the find. So again, I could go, if I go to my other VideoHub, kind of go back to this guy here, I can just say, you know, inputs deck link, right? And I'll see all the deck link things. So it's not quite the same as the how the VideoHub works, the hardware works.
So I guess a possible version for you could be predefined search terms, for example, maybe, so that like your last search is in there, or like some way of just saying like, I don't want to type in ATEM outputs every single time, for example.
Right. That's certainly something I want to add in the future. And in fact, there is a tag field. I just haven't exposed that yet. So it's something that I do want to add in the future. So
cool. Yeah, great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And he asked one more question. Jonas asked, is there a way to use 2 ATEM inputs and then always use the one that isn't in program to route to? Does that make sense?
I'm a little confused. Are you able to parse that?
My thinking is like it knows that something's in program, so then it won't let you route to, and it won't let you ruin something that's in program, maybe. Well, think about that.
Not yet. Yeah. I'm not sure about that. I mean, some people who have a lot of VideoHubs, they want to be able to say, if I have the Blackmagic VideoHub plugged into my ATEM and I change, so you see these constellation ones, right? And I change the source. I wanted to have it update the label in the ATEM with what the VideoHub is. And or things like, I want to link VideoHubs together so that if I change one on VideoHub, it would change it on like another one. So like gang them together. Yeah. And these are all really great features. These are features that, you know, I didn't really think of because I don't really have that use case. But certainly for the VideoHub to ATEM, changing the labels is something I'm thinking of. But I had to figure out how to create that linkage. And it's not all the inputs and outputs, right? So some of these outputs on the VideoHub might be going to monitors, right? You don't want to, there's no label to change on a monitor, right? But certainly say like constellation, I want to link that to this entry here, and which one I want to link it to like this source, right? And so that when I change that, it updates the proper thing. So
yeah. So you've got a list of fun things to add, for sure.
Certainly.
Yeah. So classic question. If someone's watching, how do they get this? What's it available for? What does it cost? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so RouteEffect, there's 2 versions of the app similar to MixEffect and MixEffect Pro. There's RouteEffect, which you can get on the App Store, search for RouteEffect, and that's a free download with a trial. So I'm changing the way my apps are being sold, and RouteEffect is one of the first ones to take advantage of this new kind of pricing and licensing policy. There's going to be a subscription. So RouteEffect, the free to download one, has, you can kind of use it. You can access only like button and wheel modes, and then split list. You can see them, but you can't actually do anything unless you start the trial or buy. And you can subscribe. So there's like monthly and annually, and then there's options for like family plan and individual. And then there's also RouteEffect Pro, which has a golder icon, and that's a one-time purchase. So the prices for RouteEffect Pro are actually somewhat high, and the reason why I price it high is because I'm trying to think of the lifetime kind of value that I'm going to get from a user, and the fact that RouteEffect Pro and VideoHubs are more for a professional type user. But the same licensing policy is going to move over to MixEffect. So MixEffect's been around for 4 years. And it's always been up to date up to this point, a single in-app purchase. And while that's worked, I'm wondering, is that a sustainable thing long term?
Right.
And the answer, everyone is moving to subscription for a reason. It's not sustainable to sell an app for a single in-app purchase. People have long asked me, why don't you just Blackmagic should buy this app? It's so good. They should just buy your app. And I'm referring to MixEffect, and I agree.
Yeah, of course you do.
If they decide to do that, and one of the reasons why I went to NAB this year for the first time was to try to kind of, see if that was possible. So unfortunately, the answer that I got back was no. So I had to figure out, how am I going to make MixEffect the business sustainable, especially since I'm an indie app developer, and this is my sole income. So for RouteEffect and MixEffect, RouteEffect is on, you get the trial, you can subscribe, or you can buy for a high in-app purchase RouteEffect. And then for MixEffect, it will also move to that in the future. So what's good though is that if you are an existing customer in MixEffect Pro using the in-app purchase, you can be grandfathered into MixEffect moving forward. So you won't have to subscribe. And if you purchase MixEffect Pro, the kind of the paid upfront version, you'll continue to have access to that. You won't have to pay for the higher price. The exact price is still to be determined. I don't know if it'll be the same price as RouteEffect or be less. We'll see. So I do know that users of ATEM, there's a wide range of ATEM users, right? From hobbyists all the way to kind of event professionals. So I have to keep that in mind when I kind of come up with the final pricing for MixEffect and MixEffect Pro.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And it's nice that you sort of have this new app that you can apply some different pricing to and just see how it feels, see if it feels right, and see what people sort of say about it. But I suppose at the end of the day, like you said, and we talked about this kind of pricing here on the channel before, for another indie dev like myself, you get as many people saying like, oh, I don't like subscriptions, or I don't like one time because it's this or that. You have all of the versions of people saying all the versions of things, and I think at the end of the day, you kind of just have to look at your own business and say, like, can I make this in 5 years' time? Is there still a business available if I keep going the way I'm going, if I don't make some changes? So yeah, I appreciate that you had to make, or you're going to make this sort of different pricing model for the business, and I do hope it works out for you. And I'm pretty sure it will, because I know there's enough people they'll understand, and it makes sense to head that direction,
Right. I mean, the way I see these are tools for professional users. So you take a look at the stuff that's in your box. You have SDI to HDMI converters, HDMI to SDI converters. This is like a tool that you're going to use for many, many years. And I plan to support it as long as, Blackmagic doesn't decide to like completely revamp or deprecate the VideoHub protocol, or ATEM protocol, the undocumented ATEM protocol, like switches to something completely different, breaks all existing
that would be
devices.
A painful day.
That would be very bad. And in fact, RouteEffect was designed to be generic. So while it supports Blackmagic design VideoHubs, kind of the underlying kind of structure that I set it up allows it to connect to other VideoHub video router devices. So, one of the reasons why I went to NAB was to talk to these other manufacturers.
Sure.
So a manufacturer like HAA, Ross, those Grass Valley and stuff like that. And I got different responses from different companies, but we'll see what happens. So I haven't written anything yet for any other video router, but it's something that's top of mind.
Cool. Do any of them, not that you have to name any names right now, but in your research, do any of them have like a public, well-documented API that you could tap into if you wanted to tomorrow?
A lot of them do, yes.
Okay.
Some of them work via like a text type protocol, like the Ethernet protocol. Some use like a REST API. and it's just a matter of like looking at them and figure out which one is the easiest one to implement first.
Yeah.
Some of them don't support things like labels, for instance. I think it's just
okay.
like you just get this route to this route, and that's it.
Okay.
So I have to figure out in my implementation like how to make it so it's even more generic, because I kind of assumed a base level of functionality that I get from the Video Hub, which again is just label and the route and lock status.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty base level. A question coming in here. If I can find the right window, there it is. Do you think David wants to know, does RouteEffect invalidate the need for a Video Hub master controller?
So I take it he's talking about there's this master controller, like a rack mount device that you can
I guess so.
plug in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have one. I haven't. Maybe. I certainly think it's very powerful. I mean, I don't know. Can the master controller control multiple video hubs at the same time?
Oh, I don't think it can actually. I think I asked that at Black, because they had the master control connected to a 4x2 or 2x4, whatever they call it, at NAB, and I said like, wouldn't it be great if you could control like 3 of them side by side on this? And they looked at me like that isn't going to happen. So I don't think it can right now. No.
Yeah.
So there's your answer. Oh, I guess if you want that in your rack, of course, like this is not a replacement for that. To be frank, you know, if you need a place to run to quickly press the button, then a hardware button that is always connected to one router is, of course, the way to go for that specific use case. But
right,
you know, I think you showed very well like how your tool is different and connecting to lots of routers and letting you jump between them and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's 2 definite use cases there. Cool. Off-topic question from let's see who this is from. Bulls Promo TV, what are you using to put comments on the screen? This is H2R graphics. There's a link to the website below this video and you can check that out after the fact. Cool. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate you digging into all of these features of the app. Last 1 or 2 questions for you. What is the sort of next big thing for Adam? Is it refining this app? Is it going back to MixEffect? Is it something completely new that you don't even want to mention today? What are you up to?
There are some bugs and some features to RouteEffect that I do want to add. I'll switch to my camera so you can see me.
Don't be adding
Not
any
add
bugs.
some bugs, but
no, bad.
But resolving some bugs. I certainly want to add a few features that are coming from the community.
Right.
Some which are easier to implement than others, I think. And then there's some features I want to port over to MixEffect, in addition to obviously changing the pricing structure for the app.
Right.
What's interesting is that MixEffect was written 4 years ago, so you take a look at the kind of the development, and you can probably relate to this too. It's like development frameworks and your own skill have changed over those 4 years, but you incur a lot of technical debt with your apps. So to go back and like rewrite MixEffect in the manner that I did RouteEffect would take a long time.
Correct.
So not an insignificant amount of time. So even making incremental changes like making the buttons bigger and smaller they sound easy because you did it in RouteEffect. Why can't you just add it to MixEffect? Maybe actually take a little bit longer. But these are the types of things that I want to bring. It's like some of the kind of the features of RouteEffect, I want to kind of like port them over to MixEffect. Nice. I have to maintain, backward compatibility because RouteEffect works currently on iOS and iPadOS 17 and higher, versus MixEffect works all the way back to iOS 15. And I don't want to drop support for those because I know there's people who still use like older iPads and iPhones as MixEffect controllers. But because of that, you can't take advantage of some of the new advances in development that Apple's introduced with like Swift and SwiftUI and Xcode.
Right.
So I had to like manage those things. And then in terms of future stuff, I kind of understand how this Video Hub protocol works, which is actually based on the Ethernet protocol that controls several of Blackmagic Design hardware products. So, if I don't want to name products in
Yeah.
advance, but you know, things that use the Ethernet protocol include things like hypertext, web presenters, and ultimats. So you can think that maybe future apps might service those areas as well. So I definitely want to create a constellation, no pun intended, of apps that service kind of like that Blackmagic community, because it's what I use, it's what a lot of other people use, and I think there's value to be had in having like the ability to control these devices from more than just the desktop.
Yeah, I agree. That's cool. That's going to be really nice. It's going to be nice to see the suite of Atom constellation tools as they come out. And yeah, I couldn't believe how long it was that you came on this live show and talked through MixEffect all those years ago, right? It's been a blur.
Yeah, it's time flies.
Yeah, for a second there, I was like, did that even happen? It was so long ago. But yeah, that was great. So it's so much has happened since then. Like you said, we've learned so many skills, forgotten many other skills, I would say. And then being able to like start fresh on a new application and learn so much stuff that you can move back to the older one is really exciting times for the old app as well, I think.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to the next few months.
Yeah.
WWDC is just around the corner, and Apple's going to introduce, you know, iOS 19 and iPadOS 19, and there'll be even more stuff to support.
More icons, I hope. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, where do people find you if they want to find about all these apps and, you know, future updates on new ones that come out?
Yeah, so for RouteEffect, you can just go to routeeffect.com, and then MixEffect is at mixeffect.app. And then you can find stuff about me, you know, my travels to NAB and all my recaps there at tau.com.
Very nice. And I will send them in your direction as the people come in. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering all the questions as well, Adam. That's really cool. Great.
Sounds good. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'll just show my little credits here. Thanks for everyone watching along. Thanks, of course, to the supreme supporters of the channel. Nice to have you all supporting us as we go through. Make some more videos, make some more live streams. You know, more and more of these things are happening. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next live stream. Maybe in 2 weeks' time. I'm on vacation next week. See you then. Bye.